This is the Little Moments Count radio podcast, created in partnership with community radio stations throughout Minnesota. Each episode, you'll hear interviews with early childhood experts on how to support the important brain development that takes place in the first 1,000 days of life, just through little moments every day. Learn more at littlemomentscount.org/podcast.
It's a good day to be Indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake.
Welcome to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, Kateri, to all my friends and relatives in four directions. You are listening to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot. Hey, we discuss local, national, Native news and events, and as you know, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues. Hey, this episode of Native Roots Radio is presented in partnership with Minnesota Public Radio and Little Moments Count. Little Moments Count is a statewide collaborative focused on helping parents and caregivers learn about the importance of brain development in the first 3 years of life. And we got a couple cool guests on here. I'm going to bring them on. We have Rachel. Rachel, welcome to Native Roots Radio. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Rachel Smith, and I'm a lifelong resident of St. Paul, Minnesota. I am a member of the Sichangu Lakota Oyate, and I work as a family coach out of the Montessori American Indian Childcare Center.
Awesome. And do you mind introducing yourself too, young warrior there? Ho!
Hi, everyone. My name is Kateri DeShaw. I'm a mom of two little ones. I'm a transplant from South Chicago, but I've been in Minnesota now for over 10 years. And I lived in Duluth for a while and have been in the Twin Cities for the last 8 years now. And I work as the Outreach and Connections specialist for the Montessori American Indian Childcare Center, as well as the Economic Mobility Hub family coaching program.
Awesome. Hey, for listeners who may be hearing about it for the first time, what is the Montessori American Indian Childcare Center, and what makes it unique for Native children and families?
Yeah. So my child actually goes there. He's going to turn 6, and he's gone there throughout his preschool life. So I would say for us, it means community and connections, as well as choice in educational philosophy, which was huge for us. The Montessori gave us a pathway to choose, feeling empowered to choose how we wanted to engage our child in education, and also gives us a place to connect with other Native families who share similar views. And so it means a lot for us, and it's very unique. We have not found anything in the state that is similar, and we'll be sorry to age out, but it's a very special place.
Yeah, and Rachel, I'm a lifelong St. Paulite too, so shout out to you. So talk a little bit about your experience with the Montessori model.
Well, it's a Indigenous Montessori school. Mm-hmm. And that's something that is, very unique, like Kateri said. I actually have a child that goes there too, and will be graduating this summer. It's really nice to see, the Montessori method blended with American Indian child raising practices. So it's nice that my child gets to learn Ojibwe and Lakota and, get involved in their community. So it is a very, very special place.
Yeah, well, language is so important, and I can say for a good generation or two, we've really lost it with boarding schools and assimilation and things like that. So the Montessori model is so important. Kateri, can you, as a mother yourself, what do you think the children need most in the first 5 years? Grow up confident in who they are. And I'm going to ask you that too, Rachel.
Yeah. Honestly, before joining the Montessori, I feel like that was such a complex question for me. But after experiencing the Montessori method and watching, my child flourish in it is something that makes a lot of things clear for me. So the Montessori is it's child centered. And it's child led. So you follow the child's curiosity. And I believe that is right in line with Indigenous ideals of like children are sacred beings.
Hmm.
And in the Montessori classroom, in the Montessori's children's house, you can really see that come to life because they treat the children with such respect. And it's like a mutual give and take of respect. They practice practical life um, works. So, they're sewing, they're washing dishes, they're making bread, as preschoolers. And before I would have said like, oh wow, there's no way, you know, a 3-year-old would want to make banana bread all the way through the process. But at the Montessori and through the Montessori method, you can really see that because they're centering the child's curiosity. So if the child is curious about, a recipe, they're there to guide and to really respect the child's ways of doing things with giving them tools and practical advice. So,
Wow,
yeah.
that's amazing. Rachel, what are your thoughts about that? With the first 5 years, how important these Montessori experiences for our native children?
Well, it's about having routines, and learning about boundaries, like for yourself, for others, learning how to be respectful, how to effectively communicate with peers and adults. Once those basic things are in place, and the child feels secure. So we have two, parenting programs in the school. One is Positive Indian Parenting, and the other is Circle of Security. And we really focus on the child being secure so that confidence can grow. And it's really nice to see. Like, we'll get some 3-year-olds who are very nervous and shy and they don't want to come to school. By
Hmm.
6 years old, they are little mentors to the other children. So the 3-year-olds are encouraged to go to an older child for help. So I think that's really nice with having like the blended ages in the classroom.
Well, and they're also relearning what they're teaching, and that's so amazing for somebody that age. I taught high school, and we did a lot of that,
Yeah.
but at that young age, that's amazing to hear. Kateri, you work for an economic mobility hub. Would some listeners may not know about what is the hub and how does it support Native families raising young children?
Yeah, yeah. So the Economic Mobility Hub is a collaborative organization. It's a collaboration between the Department of Indian Work of St. Paul, as well as the Montessori American Indian Childcare Center, um, which is very important because what we are trying to do is true systems change. We're providing wraparound support for families who may be right on the cusp of, you know, getting to that next level. And so we help families uh, through a family coaching model. Each family is paired with their own family coach that they have access to. They have weekly meetings, the hub. We also have monthly programming for families to get together. also skill building opportunities for families. But really what it is it's supporting families to empower them, but also introduce them to healthy community, um, and then hoping that they feel empowered enough that eventually they enter community to be leaders themselves. Um,
Let's
yeah.
talk. Let's talk more about that. We're going to take a quick break. Hey, we are Native Roots Radio, and this is a show about a little moments count in a Montessori school. We'll be right back. This is Native Roots Radio. Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot. Hey, welcome back, everyone. This is our Little Moments Count show, and for more information, you can visit littlemomentscount.org. And we are talking to our friends about Montessori American Indian Childcare Center, MAICC, and Economic Mobility Hub. And Kateri, do you mind finishing your thought? I think some of the bumper music might have caught you at the end there for break.
Yeah, no, I think I was talking about, we really strive to build healthy community and empower families that work with us to engage in healthy communities in a leadership sense. And so we're trying to change the systems that for a long time have, I feel like serviced communities in ways that were not asked for. And we're trying to empower the voices of families who are working with us to utilize the supports and community that that are going to lift them up, as opposed to keep them in a cycle. So we do a lot of community resource connection. It's heavily we have our own goal plan system that we created that's culturally relevant to our families that we work with, called the 7 Generations Plan. And so it's really a multifaceted program. It's very exciting.
Yeah, that does sound exciting. And can you explain a little more about the 7-generation family plan?
Sure. Yeah, so we have created the 7 Generation Family Goal Plan. And really what that is families work on that one-on-one with their family coach. And it's really a living document where it centers the family in what they envision for themselves. And then it kind of helps break it down into smaller pieces. And then it's really wonderful because it keeps coming back to that concept of building goals and really a life, not just for yourself, but for the 7 generations after you, right? And then, but also realizing that you're coming from 7 generations behind you and what you might want to carry forward and what you might want to heal with. And so it really centralizes, healing and building and then moving forward and envisioning the future that you want for your family.
Wow, that's beautiful. And there's a guaranteed basic income for some families. Can you explain that to me? I'm not too sure what that is.
Yeah. So that's another really exciting opportunity that we've had. We're on our second cohort that just started last month. Prior to that, we had a cohort of 26 families who worked with us, receiving $500 a month for 2 years, over the course of 2 years. And then during that time period, of course, they're meeting with their family coaches, utilizing our skills workshops and family connections. And really that was to see of, if people have more money, does that help, right? And I believe what we are seeing is that, yes, it does. It gives families breathing room, where, it's the, 1 month you might be worrying about groceries or if you're going to make rent. And for someone with $500 extra and a family coach behind them to really strategize, it gives them the breathing space to actually dream. Because so often we see families in stress and crisis mode, and we're seeing that, that $500 actually does help. So
Yeah, that is amazing. And, many families are balancing work and childcare and reconnecting with their culture how do programs like MAICC and Economic Mobility Hub help families feel supported instead of doing it all alone? And I think you kind of touched a little bit on that, but can you maybe even elaborate more?
yeah, definitely. And this is something that, I think we all keep coming back to in the work that we do is um, community, is connection to community, because you really see that in, starting from the Montessori Children's House classroom. It's a classroom made up of 33 months all the way up to 6 years old. And they're building their own community within that classroom. They're building relationships, they're having conflict, they're resolving conflict. So right from the start, they have this beautiful entrance into community and what it can look like and the work that it takes. And the same thing is true for the hub as well. And, supporting families so that they don't feel alone. And they know that, it is hard, it is work, but, to have someone to reach out to, I think we've seen is extremely helpful.
Yeah, my understanding is you spend a lot of time out in the community at powwows and events talking with families. What are parents of little ones telling you what they need the most right now?
Yeah. I feel like a little bit of a broken record, but what I do hear is, they feel alone a lot of the
Hmm.
times. They feel alone, and overstressed. And, a lot of people don't know where to start. Um, and, they're scared too. There's, sending especially a young child into an environment that is brand new with an adult that is also probably brand new to them. It's work for the parent and it's work for the child. But I'm hearing, from the community as I talk to them about our program, um, we have the opportunity to not just, you know, here we are here, it's a childcare center, but the opportunity to welcome in the child as well as the family. And so we have a wonderful uh, parent coordinator and social worker. She is awesome at what she does. She really works with families if they're having a hard time, whatever the issue is. She will help find resources. And so, payment is never a barrier as well for us. And so if there's a financial stress, we work with a family too. So it's really that cultivating of solid, healthy community supports.
I have a listener. I do believe Jim's listening on Facebook or no YouTube, and he is just so proud to see. He's at roughly the same age as I am, and he's saying unbelievably nice to see the next generation stepping up and showing us how to do this. And I got to give that shout out to you and Rachel. It is, and we have struggled and for many years, and the next generation, we are so proud of what you two are doing for the community. I just had to say that because Jim posted that up on YouTube too. So appreciate your input, Jim, and it is amazing, Kateri. To hear all this that's happening. For parents and grandparents listening, what message would you like to leave them with, and about the power that they have shaping the next generation? And I know by talking to you, you two do understand what the power is.
Yeah. And this is, something that I talk about constantly in my household, just at home, like, wow, this is a lot, but it's also just amazing to see these young beings just developing and having curiosity. So I would say, the power, you can feel it if you're open to it. And I feel like more than not, we are open to it. We just have to allow ourselves to feel that we are doing a good job. And at the same time, we have these sacred beings in our care, which is truly one of the most important jobs anyone can do. These sacred beings are going to be leading us one day. And that makes me really excited.
Wow, great point. Hey, how can our listeners find out more about your programs?
Sure. So you can go on the website, which is MAICCMN.org. You can also call the office telephone to get more information, or if you want to set up a tour. And that is 651-478-1189. And then if you are interested in the Economic Mobility Hub, honestly, the fastest way is to just Google us. We are the Economic Mobility Hub for American Indian families in Ramsey County. And that'll bring up some great websites for you to get connected to us.
Hey, I just want to say a big Pinigi thank you. It's enlightening and powerful to hear both your stories about what's happening with our young ones and again, for the next 7 generations, which we all appreciate. Thank you so much, Rachel and Kateri, for being on Native Roots Radio. Hope to see you again.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Hey, this is Native Roots Radio. If you're listening to the show, you are part of the resistance from Chief Plenty Coop, the ground on which we stand on. It's sacred ground. It's the blood of our ancestors. We need to resist, divest, join a group, and vote. We'll be here tomorrow. This has been Native Roots Radio.
Thanks for listening to the Little Moments Count radio podcast in partnership with community radio stations throughout Minnesota. You can find the Little Moments Count radio podcast wherever you get your podcasts and at littlemomentscount.org/podcast.